Hi, my name is Shady Atia, Assistant Professor at Liège University in Architectural Engineering, and I'm going to talk today about the qualities of a good researcher. Well, I would like to invite you before starting to subscribe and follow the previous videos that I have posted on my channel, because it's very important to contextualize what I'm going to talk about today. And don't forget to like the video if you are finding it worthy and valuable. Well, what I'm going to talk about today is how to evaluate the quality of a researcher. In this context, we are talking about a very famous slogan, publish or perish. I will talk about the quality of a researcher, the types of publications, what is the HH index, which is used, the Hirsch index, what are the research qualities, and I give some recommendations to make sure that if you are looking to have a solid profile as a researcher, you make sure that these issues are kind of covered in your career. Well, publish or perish, this is the rule of the game. You have to live with it. The reality today of research is that research is based on publications, and in this sense, publication, they sustain your career, they are very important, and they are used as an indicator of your qualification. So the more you have citations, people are mentioning or citing your work, it is in a way or another representing your impact in the scientific community. Well, it is also, publication is very important because it is advancing research. When you do a serious work, when you do quality work, when you have good data, you process them, you present findings, and you share them with the community, respecting certain protocols, you make sure like that you are also advancing research. So it's not only publishing for yourself or for your career. Also, publications, they are motivating scholars because they are a carrying framework to make sure that your work is concrete and it is well developed, and at the same time also communicated, documented, and disseminated. For sure, we should forget that many people, we are in a transition. We have in the previous years, it was not so common to publish in some fields or in some domains, and especially journal publications. And often I find people, when I discuss with them, I tell them, why don't you publish? Even though you have very good projects or you have very good work, they will just start finding excuses, saying that we don't believe in the process, we don't find it interesting, we don't find it rewarding. I would say, if you are a young researcher, this is the rule of the game. You have to take it as it is, play. It's a very nice game from my side. As having my experience in that, and I just say, go with the flow and publish to make sure that you will not perish. Well, you have to keep into account what is the quality of a researcher. A quality of researcher means simply the number of published papers in journals with an impact factor. So here we are not looking at conferences, it is directly focused on journal publications, and those journal publications or those publications are not published in any kind of journal. No, they are published in journals with an impact factor, meaning that these journals are high quality journals. In this sense, journals can be ranked and listed depending on their impact, and this is what is called the impact factor. Well, the question that arises every time when we talk about this aspect of researcher quality is the quantity versus the quality. For sure, there is a balance between both. A lot of publications, journal publications, that are not high quality is not meaningful. So here the quantity is not the point. In the same time, if you publish without quality, it is meaningless. So it's a balance between both. It is expected when you are a young or early career researcher that you will have less high quality publications. It's expected that you are more productive in your early career, doing reviews, doing classifications, and then with time, with experience, depending on the projects you're working on, you can go more into quality. And actually quantity is much easier, but quality is always more difficult because it requires funding, it requires having solid teams working together, having interdisciplinary complex problems. So this balance should be kept into account. But anyway, to translate this into your own career, you need to know that you need to have a series of journal publications. Some of them could be not very high quality, others should be high quality. Well, one of the things we should always keep into account that there are different types of publications. For sure, I'm talking today mainly about journal publications, and that's what my focus, but many people ask me, and they ask me frequently, what is the difference between different types of publications? So you have to keep into account the following. There is different type of publications, and I'm ranking them according to their importance in this order. The first type is the peer-reviewed journals. Those are the highest top level of publication, and that's what you should seek. Then it comes the national journals. Those are less important for sure unless they have an impact factor, but since we are in an international community and you are looking that an international audience would read your work, so we are favoring peer-reviewed international journals. Then it goes to the national ones. Then we find the international conference proceedings. Those are the third in the level of importance. Then it comes to national conference proceedings. Those are kind of conferences that are only in your own country's local language. It's only for the community of a national country, meaning that its importance gets less and less because it gets less accessible. It's only concerned with national problems, and the importance is goes less. And then we go to internal communication through seminars. So this is the type of order you should think about. And when young researchers start their career, they should not focus on conferences, they should not focus on seminars, even though they are important, but they should be seen as secondary in importance, and the priority is always on journal publications. Well, what is right to do? Should I publish first in a journal and then publish in a conference, or should I publish first in a conference and then develop the paper of the conference paper into a journal? Well, from a professional point of view, you should publish a number of journal papers in highly ranked journals that bring you credit as a scientist with a healthy number of citations. This is the aim that you should seek, and you should do it from the beginning. Well, as a secondary aim, you can promote those journal papers that were published in well-known and well-acknowledged journals. Publish them through international conference paper to extend your scientific network. Get feedback from your ideas from peers and get exposed to the international scientific community. So this is the logical order you should think about when you are planning to publish. You publish first in a journal. I know it's tedious, it takes time, it's difficult, but actually this is the main manuscript that you should share with the scientific community. And after you published your journal, you can take some parts of this journal or the whole journal paper and then rewrite it for a conference. In this sense, the conference is more working for networking, for marketing your work, inviting people to cite the journal paper originally. And in the same time, when you look at it from a time efficiency point of view, the most difficult thing is the journal. You are focusing on it, and then the conference is more kind of rewarding to your published journal publication. So this is the following order I advise young researchers to follow. What count at the end is your solid work. So keep into account whether you are publishing in journals or conferences, we are looking at the end to have a solid work. It's not the publication itself that matters or the citation that matters, it's the quality of your work. So publishing is an important process, and all that matters is the content. The content is the story, and the content is related also to the data that you have. Keep into account that journals have an important role in selecting, so they are more strict compared to conferences. Conferences, you are paying most of the time for getting published. You pay the registration fees and then you get published. While for a journal, in most of the journals or all journals I publish in, I don't pay any money. It's peer reviewed, it's blind peer reviewed, and this makes it more tough. It shows that there is an effort from the editor and the reviewers to curate the most relevant, important and impactful work. So this is very important to keep into account, and therefore we recommend always to publish in journal publications. What is the value of a paper with severe errors? It happens a lot that people publish, so keep into account always that even if a published paper is out there online, it's still not saying that this work is high quality. I think you should just consider that publications are a mean or a reflection of your work, and what is also the value of a paper if it had fabricated data. So I'm just trying to have a critical reflection to tell you it's not that we are doing journal papers for doing the journal papers. I'm saying that they are very important. We need to focus to publish in journal papers and not waste time in conferences, but in the same time, without real solid work, which is more important than the publication itself, we cannot have a quality experience, and then we cannot be qualified as good researchers. Well, again, it's very important to keep this balance. The research counts, then the journal. This is my message. First of all, talk about the research. If you have a project, if you have data, this is the key. And then the journal. With quantity comes quality. A lot of students, when they start their career, they say, okay, how can I publish in a journal and I don't have a big experience? Okay, you can go for journals with low impact factor. You can go with journals that accept mainly reviews until you become expert in your domain, or you have at least minimum qualities that allows you to publish. So I always say with quantity comes quality, so you have to try to publish in journals as much as you can, and once you have a record of 3-4 publications, quality will come. Unless you are from the beginning working in a very strong team, you are well qualified, you have the resources, human resources and infrastructure that makes you from the beginning produce a high quality work. But if you are there working far away, you don't have enough resources in any place in the world, then go for quantity until you can create quality. Large quantity of publication does not also mean a higher status, so it's at certain level, okay, in the beginning you need to publish some journals, but after a while of your career, after 10 years maybe, it's not anymore the quantity of the journals you publish, but it's the quality. So keep it into account that you are going through phases. In the early phase of your career, you need quantity, and then in the later phases, you need more quality. Okay, H-index. What is a H-index? It's the Hirsch index. It's a kind of bibliometric indicator for researchers. And there is different types of H-indexes. There's a H-index from Scopus. There is H-index from Thomson Reuters. There is the H-index from Google Scholar. But what is the H-index? It's simply the index is an author level metric that attempts to measure both the productivity and the citation impact. So here it's a combination between how much the researcher is productive, he or she are producing sufficient journal papers, and the more they are doing it, it increases the H-index, and on the other side, how citations or the impact of this work through citations. So how many people are citing this work? So it's a correlation. The more you publish papers, the more you get cited. Together it creates an index, and this index communicates the quality of a researcher. And when both the productivity and the citation impact of the publication are assessed, we can assess scholars and scientists. The index is based on the set of the scientists' most cited papers and the number of citations that they have received in other publications. And it's a correlation, and today worldwide many people are using the H-index. Well, keep in mind that the H-index is something new. It was not used before 2005. So still the scientific community is looking at different other indexes, and there are other indexes to evaluate the quality of researchers. This will come in a following video. You can follow that, but at least for now we are following the H-index. The H-index, again, it is representing the impact, the citation, the productivity. As I told you, there is a Scopus index and there is a Google index, the most famous ones. Well, how it looks, here it is, it's a correlation. As you can see, on your left side, you have a series of publications, and every time you can see a number next to the publication, meaning how much of times it was cited. And based on this correlation, once you have a number of citations, this is, for example, H-index 9, meaning that this researcher has 9 publications. Those 9 publications, each of them has been cited for at least 9 times, and so on. So the more you produce publications and the more they get cited, your H index will increase, and with time it becomes more difficult to increase this factor, because the 5 H index 5, you need 5 papers, all of them cited at least 5 times, but then when you reach a H index 20, you need 20 papers, each of them is cited at least 20 times, which makes it more tough. So the more you go with your career, the harder it gets to increase the H index. H index is represented here in the Scopus kind of platform. Here is another indication for H index presented by Google Scholar. Google Scholar has its own search engine and calculation equation for its H index, and it is more exhaustive. It covers more publications, and as you can see, you can look at the number of citation, total number of citation, and then you see the H index is like this number. In this case it's 15, meaning that this researcher has 15 publications that were cited at least 15 times, and so on. So it only can increase this number or this H index with more paper production and more citation from other researchers. And keep in mind that you will find the same researcher has a 15 H index on Google, and on Scopus it's 9. Why is that? Because Google is taking into account all types of publication, not only journals, but also taking into account conferences, citation in books, in magazine, or whatever kind of publications. So this is a kind of index that is more comprehensive. Google is more looking comprehensively at all your citation, while Scopus is very selective. They are only selecting publications that are coming from journal papers or from publications that are indexed in Scopus, which means that Scopus is more reliable to look at. If you are assessing a researcher, just go on the website, Google Scopus, you can type the author name, and then you can know his or her H index. Well, Google is more generous. They give you higher values. You can put it for your own prestige, but I would say it is less representative. Well, keep into account that it is not at the end an index. The scientific community is trying to bring efficiency and is trying to industrialize the process of research assessment. So we come up with this H index, but you have also to have a critical look at the whole process and say that it is before the H index, and it's before talking about journal publications. It is also the solid work that counts at the end. So my golden rule for all of you is simply develop an area of science where you make progressive discovery and you earn a reputation for solid work. I mean, this is the real thing that matters. This is the thing that makes a good researcher or a not good researcher. Don't forget that many institutions and many researchers, they're more kind of production machines. It's not about producing as much as possible. It's not about having journals and papers and so on, and just focusing on the quantity and making every year, breaking your own record of publishing per year, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7 publications in journals. No, it's about the solid work and the niche that you find yourself in, even if this niche is not popular. Unfortunately, this is one of the things that are a bit frustrating, that some people, they have developed their own niche, but this niche is not popular, so they are less cited. But this does not mean that they are not contributing or that they have no value for their work. In fact, we can say that the work and the solid work is the basis for a good researcher, and if you develop this own area of progressive discovery and you have your own reputation around this area, then you can consider that you succeeded as a researcher in having your own area. But for sure it takes time, and for sure I advise to play the game and go with publications to make sure you have a well-established status. Well, what counts at the end is really the data you have, and if you have solid data, you can have good publications, you can have good contributions, and you can provide insights, you can provide significant added value to the scientific community in the specific area you are looking to work on. If you do good, solid work consistently, you will be recognized, this is for sure. even if you have little publications. In this case, I come back to the rule of quality is more important than quantity. The H index is not the only way to judge researchers. Unfortunately, today that's what we are doing, but I think on the long term there will be better indicators and ways to assess researchers. But so far I'm trying to give you the overview to make you aware of what you should do: publish in journal publications, go for your H index, and in the same time be aware about the limitations of this kind of assessment indicators. Institutions have to judge the quality of a person based on the quality of the research. But since institutions do not have time for that, and we are living in a kind of austerity or economical crisis context, it's not easy for institutions to find people and fund them to just assess the quality of researchers. So they want to have very fast indicators. They type your name, Google you, or look at Scopus. I type your name, I find the H index, and then I can compare. If I have two applicants, one has a high index, another one has a lower, I might select the higher. But if I have more time to investigate, I will look at the CV, I will do an interview, I will meet the person, I will look at the real skills of that researcher. So just keep it in mind. And in general, what counts is your solid work. You shouldn't be relying on journals and 2 or 3 reviewers to judge you. This is not the thing that says you are a good researcher or not. We are playing the game, yes, but in the same time, don't take it personal. Do research with passion. This is the whole key. If you don't have passion, you have to, I advise you to do something else. Be persistent and deliberate. You have to keep into account that if you want to be a good researcher, you have to be deliberate, you have to be persistent, you have to be strategic, you have to know the limitations. Knowledge is power, so you need to know all this process and play the game and go with the stream to seek the highest quality and make sure that you are recognized in the scientific community. So this is my advice for researcher quality. What is good for you? Don't waste time with highest impact journals in your early career. This is very interesting to see. Many researchers, they just finished their masters, they are just fresh PhD students, and they start to seek journal papers with high impact. I think this is not wise. Start with low impact journals so that you make sure that you published first. You need to have a success. A little success is the first start for a big success. So make sure that you are not wasting time with high impact, because they will be very stringent, they will be very selective, they will take time, and they can frustrate you, they can break you through their assessment. Don't waste several times repeated attempts to get published in the same journal. You try once, you try twice, maybe maximum third time. If still the editor or the reviewers are still rejecting the work, then most probably this is not the best match for your work. Publish as high as practical. You have to be pragmatic in this sense, and seek funding and write grants proposal. Honestly, this is more important. We are looking at the end to get money to fund real projects, to have researchers, and then we publish, not the other way around. Well, use journal publication as a vehicle to advance your research. So you are writing a thesis, you are writing a dissertation, you're doing a project, you have to write a report, you have to make a kind of manuscript. Why don't you use a publication process to deliver your thesis or your dissertation or report? Because the publication is very interesting process that is critical, that it can reform and improve the quality of the work. So I always advise my students, if they're already investing and they're doing research, why don't you use the publication as a process to produce your work? Plan your research activities into work packages, and consequently you can get out some publications. So this is a scheme showing kind of organization diagram. This is a project of a 4-year PhD project funded, and the researcher is doing first literature review, and this is represented into a work package. So this is a breakdown scheme where you translate the objectives into a time plan, and then you say, okay, work package 1, it will last for 2 months, for example. This is the literature review, and I will come out with a publication for that. Then work package 2 is about parametric analysis or kind of analysis, diagnostics. Also, I will end it up with a publication, and then I will come up with developing a model or a tool or an indicator, and also I will publish a journal publication for that. So in this sense, you are structuring your research work into packages that come up with concrete measurable outcomes, and in the same time it helps you to go faster and structure your work and be productive while finishing a project. A project like that can last 4 years, 3 years, and it's very logical that you produce per year one journal publication as an early career researcher. Well, build your digital ID. This was also a previous video that I presented previous year. I advise you to look at the researcher digital ID video. It's a very important video. Please watch it and build up your ID on Google and on Scopus, and look to have ORCID or ORC ID identity. Make sure your journal publications are included in these indexes so that your H index is properly calculated. If something is missing, you can add a publication. And finally, I would like to thank you. I invite you again to subscribe for the channel, look at the previous videos, and thank you for your attention. Thank you.